Have you ever paused just for a beat to look straight at the last digit of your birth year? Not the whole date, just that tiny number at the end, 012, up to 9. It's so small we sign it on countless forms without hearing what it whispers. Yet in the language of the soul, the trivial can open a hidden door, a final chime. From the moment you entered life, a low note still ringing that sometimes shakes your inner weather. Jung reminds us life doesn't speak in random events. It speaks in symbols through dreams, through myth, through mandalas that appear when the psyche turns toward its own center. And sometimes it speaks through numbers. Maybe you grew up where numbers are just metrics, grades, income deadlines, KPIs. But numbers also carry qualities in invisible tone recognized by ancient traditions, by alchemical texts, and by Jung himself. 0 isn't empty. It's the primordial circle, the womb of all potential, an image of the self holding the opposites. 4 isn't just 3 plus 1. It's the quaternity, 4 directions, 4 seasons, 4 functions of consciousness, the pattern that turns chaos into a world. When we listen to numbers as living images rather than fate labels, they become mirrors where our symbolic memory comes into form. So why the last digit of your birth year? Because every cycle has a closing rite, a seal that hands the rhythm to the next. Our civilization counts by tens. The decade's final note carries a tone of completion, summing up, distilling, or sparking a beginning. That final digit is the last color brushed onto the era you were born into, a color that blends quietly into your inner palette. This isn't fortune-telling, it's symbolic reading. We don't ask, what does it decide about me? We ask, what does it evoke in me? And why does the deepest part of me respond? If your year ends in neuro, perhaps you feel the circle love of silence, a sense of cycles over straight lines. If it ends in 1, maybe a path-blazing flame has both isolated and saved you. If it ends in 4, you frame and ground. If 9, you read the grammar of endings and rebirth. But beware confirmation bias. Don't squeeze yourself into a description. Jung never wanted us to shrink into new labels. He invites observation of synchronicities, moments when a symbol arrives on its own, tapping you at the right time, so the ordinary starts to glow. Treat the last digit as a passing symbol, a visitor at the doorway. Does the life within you quietly nod? This is an invitation, not a verdict. We won't say you're this number, so your fate is that. Ask the most practical American question, soft but sharp. Does this symbol help me live more truthfully today? Real meaning lives in movement, in the moments you avoid less, perform less, and stop running from the inner call. When a symbol is useful, it unlocks action, a truthful word, a boundary drawn, a habit replaced to sorrow, set down. Try a 7-day micro-practice. Each night, write 3 lines. 1. Where did I notice the tone of my birth year digit today? Ooh. Did it tighten me or open me? 3. Tomorrow, what one action counters its shadow? If 2 tempts you to erase yourself for harmony, speak 1 small clear need. After 7 nights, you'll have lived data, not vague belief about what this symbol actually does in you. Before we go deeper, a few clarifications to widen and steady the road. Sensitivity isn't the same as post-traumatic hypervigilance. Sometimes you're tired in crowds because you absorb too much signal. Sometimes your nervous system is simply on alert from unhealed memory. Both deserve respect, but the paths of healing and of integration aren't identical. In what Jung called the mana personality, that charged effect, when the self touches life, carries a subtle trap ego inflation. When others wobble near you, resist the quick story of, I am special. Understand this instead, a temenos, a sacred meeting space just opened, and your ethical task is to hold it with sobriety without possession or manipulation. You may have lived a paradox. Someone opens deeply beside you, then vanishes. Jung calls this the collapse of projection. When a mask loses its usual hook, people often retreat in shame, not because you were wrong, but because sudden light makes the eyes ache. Here add a safety line, compassion with boundaries. You are not the world's therapist. You're a person learning to stand in your truth. A simple, steady close. Thank you for trusting me. Let's pause here today. I hope you care for yourself tonight. Conceal the temenos without sliding into hazy expectations. If terms like persona, shadow, self-individuation, projection, numinous temenos are new, don't worry. Treat them as a map for what you already feel, Soon we'll lay it out why the mask is necessary and risky, what the shadow protects, what the self asks us to pay, why returning to center often begins with a loneliness. Then we'll walk into ordinary rooms, work, love, family, where archetypal tension shows up in harmless seeming sentences, evasions, and the, of course, smiles that the heart doesn't endorse. For now, 1 3-beat practice right here. Inhale calmly through the nose for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale slowly for 6. Hand on heart, whisper, I allow myself to be true without being perfect. Feel your body in the chair. Not a mystical rite, just inviting the body back so the mind stops running ahead and the ego stops managing everything. When breath touches bone in the quiet, you'll sense it, a house within you has switched on the light. And that is where we'll step next through Jung's first doors, the mass, the shadow, the center. We'll see why authentic presence changes the room's rhythm, why people are drawn and also want to flee, and why the rarest thing isn't being seen by the world but seeing oneself. If you're tired of performing, if others' discomfort with your honesty has scared you, or if you simply want to stop living by copies, walk a little further with me. This road doesn't promise easy, it promises true, and for the soul, true is enough. Let me lay a foundation deep enough that everything after this isn't just a pretty promise. Jung reminds us that inner life isn't a pile of isolated facts. It's a quiet order woven by symbols. You're born at a precise moment in history, and you don't just receive a birth certificate, you enter a psychological climate, the fears and dreams of an era, the rhythm of a decade, the collective images glowing in the shared unconscious. At the edge of that timeline, a single digit at the end of your birth year can sound like the final chord of a song tinting the background of your soul. Not fate, not fortune-telling. A picture to hold up and ask, does something in me nod back? We Americans grow up swimming in numbers. SAT scores, mortgage rates, deadlines, calories. In Jung's symbolic tradition, numbers aren't only quantity, they have quality. They are subtle ordering factors, archetypal images that help inner chaos find form. Imagine 0 as a primordial circle, a mandala, a still center that holds opposites, or 4 as a quaternity, 4 directions, 4 seasons, the 4 functions of consciousness, sensation, intuition, thinking, feeling, a framework the mind uses to meet the world. Treated as living images, numbers become a soft background. Music that helps you hear your own voice inside a noisy America. What number has been composing the background score of your week? Why the last digit of the birth year rather than the whole date? Because our civilization runs on base 10. Every decade closes a loop. That final note carries the mood of completion and hand off a light but persistent cadence. When we treat that last digit as an image, we're not bowing to randomness. We're watching how the mind gives meaning to thresholds. People attuned to symbols often feel these nuances. Someone born in a year ending in 4 tends to be a builder, even if they don't believe in anything mystical. Someone ending in 9 knows how to say goodbye and begin again, even if they've never read Jung. Does that resonate even a little in your story, man? No. Important distinction. Symbolism isn't occult numerology. We don't pull a number to predict tomorrow. We read an image to understand today. In Jung's language, when an outer image happens to match an inner situation in a deeply meaningful way, that's synchronicity. Not magic, just the moment you hear a subtler order speak. If the last digit knocks on your door when you happen to need a reminder, the meeting gains meaning. If not, that's fine too. The symbol silence is a sign your doorway sits elsewhere. A dream from last night, a memory you keep dodging. What signal is life actually sending you now? Let's make this practical, a small, very American experiment. For 7 nights before sleep, write 3 quick lines. 1. Where did I notice the tone of my birth year's last digit today in a decision, a relationship, or a quiet moment? Did my body feel more open or more contracted? What counter move will I try tomorrow? If my 4 frame gets rigid, I'll change one small thing. If my 2 keeps self-erasing for harmony, I'll name one clear need. If my 3 performs to avoid stillness, I'll take 3 screen-free minutes to breathe. 7 nights like this give you living data, not blind belief, to see whether a symbol is helping you live more truthfully. Name one more anchor: confirmation bias. When we want to see, we will see. Keep your experiments softly honest. Record the days you notice nothing and the days the symbol resists you. For instance, you're a 6, but choose to care for yourself instead of others and feel guilty. Those misfits clarify the point: we use symbols to free ourselves, not to bind ourselves. Where might you be forcing a pattern where none is needed? Some quick, tight vignettes from ordinary life. Zoe, ending in 0, grew up in a small Midwestern church. At 29, she discovered a simple gift. When a room spun out, she could hold a pocket of space for everyone to catch their breath. No lecturing, no steering, just presence. Mark, ending in 4, is a Seattle engineer. He lives by checklists and saves his team from burning deadlines, but clenches harder with every change until he burns out. When he learned a 4 frame needs to breathe, he started dropping one small item a day. Oddly, his output rose. Elena, ending in 9, has changed careers 3 times, not instability, but the art of completion. She knows when to release and when to receive, and becomes the friend people find in seasons of loss. If none of these fit you, good. Symbols aren't molds. They're invitations to author your own story. Which character did you feel in your body while listening? Go a layer deeper, and the digits trace the individuation path, the long becoming of the self. 0 images the self an embracing center. 1 is courage to separate from expectations. 2 learns to meet without dissolving. 3 gives the soul a voice. 4 builds a home for beauty. 5 dares to shed a skin. 6 loves with boundaries. 7 seeks meaning without leaving life. 8 tempers pressure into character. 9 ends well so something true can begin. Seen this way, the last digit isn't a party trick. It's a doorway into the piece of inner work that's right on time. Which doorway feels most alive for you now? Try one more potent Jungian practice tonight: active imagination. Close your eyes and let your last digit appear as a living image. If it's 0, maybe a round lake mirror, smooth. 4 could be a square room with windows open to the 4 winds. 8 might be an infinity sign glowing like heated metal. Ask it 3 things. What are you protecting in me? Where have you locked me up? Tomorrow, what single act would help me owe you less and move closer to my center? Write the answers word for word. Don't explain them yet. In Jung's way, image precedes concept. Let the image do the work. What did yours say back, Mom? Because we don't walk alone, join the channel's community. In the comments, post this template: I'm a number X. The light I noticed today was, the shadow I'm working is, the small step I'll take tomorrow is. Reply to each other with respect and curiosity. No diagnoses, no sermons. Symbols blossom when lived, not debated. You might be listening from a small studio in Portland, a night shift in Houston, or the back seat on a drive across Arizona. Wherever you are, you don't have to believe anything hazy to start. You only have to try. Next, we'll move from the map to a specific image, beginning with 0, the silent circle, the mandala of the center, where opposites are held, not erased. From 0 to 1 to 2, each number will open like a door: 1 light to follow, 1 shadow to train, and 1 small action you can take today. If this slowed your heart by half a beat, enough to hear yourself, you're ready for the next step. Inhale. Exhale. We step into 0. Now, if the opening was a door left slightly ajar, let's step fully into Jung's house. The map is simple yet deep. Persona is the social mask that gets us through the day. Shadow is what we exiled to keep that mask intact. The self is the center where fragments find order. Individuation is the slow return to that center. As the journey matures, you don't shine in a flashy way. You become coherent, aligned in thought, feeling, word, and deed. That coherence carries a numinous weight. Then something curious happens. Other people's unconscious begins to stir what Jung called archetypal tension. No one's being hypnotized. The repressed parts in each person suddenly see themselves in the mirror and react. When did you last feel a room change because you spoke simply and clearly? Picture a Monday meeting in a glass-walled room in Austin. You're quiet, jot a few notes. Near the end, you say, plain as can be, I'm not clear on the baseline data for this decision. That's it, no attack, no flourish. Yet the field shifts. Someone laughs too loudly, someone makes excuses. One person gets overly eager, another avoids your eyes. On the surface, nothing. Underneath, projections leap to life. Fears of being wrong, exposed, or abandoned try to pin their usual mask on you. What's actually happening in you when the air changes like that, bracing or softening? Sometimes it's over coffee in Seattle, small talk about weather, and suddenly they share a cracking marriage. You don't pry, you listen, eyes soft, shoulders down. An hour later, they leave. A few days later, silence. That's projection collapse. In the temporary temenos your presence opened, they touched what's real. Leaving that space, they feel exposed. Did I say too much? The defensive reflex pulls them back. Here, kindness needs a boundary. Thank you for trusting me. Let's pause here so you have space to take care of yourself tonight. You keep the posture of seeing, hearing, non-possessing. The rest belongs to them. What boundary sentence could you keep ready this week? Let's untangle a common confusion. A sensitivity to a room is not the same as trauma-shaped hypervigilance. If your heart races, shoulders brace, breath goes shallow, and your mind scripts worst-case scenarios in crowds, that's the defensive system at work. If you're steady breathing, deep, body soft, and clearly aware, awake without strain, that's closer to coherence. This isn't for judgment, it's to choose the right self-care, sometimes a therapist, sometimes a patch of woods, a page of writing, or a good night's sleep. Which signal did your body send you more often this week, alarm or quiet clarity? Beware a subtler trap, ego inflation, the self puffed up by the fantasy of specialness. When others wobble around you, it's easy to slip into, I have something above the rest. Jung warned about the mana personality, the illusion of power when the self's energy pours through a fragile ego. The antidote isn't self-demeaning, it's disciplined, humility. Record a dream instead of preaching. Ask one more question instead of rushing to a conclusion. Do one small right action instead of declaring something grand. Try this reminder, I'm only the doorkeeper of a space. The light doesn't belong to me. What would one small right action be for you today? Practically what helps your body-mind stand in truth without raising your voice. Rhythm, not ritual. At day's end, draw a line down a small notebook page. What did I show the world today, and what did I hide today? 3 lines each. No praise, no blame. Wednesday morning before email. Spend 5 minutes in active imagination with last night's dream. Image, a deer, a room, a child. So what did you come to say? Write it verbatim, then honor it with one small act. Call the friend you have avoided. Decline a task you don't want. Sip water and take 3 slow breaths. For the noon meeting, stand by a wall. Hands on the wall, press fully for 4 breaths. Release for 6, a somatic doorway from tension into presence. On Sunday night, draw a simple round mandala, not for beauty, but to witness how light and shadow divided your week. These small, steady gestures slowly weave that quiet, weighty quality in you. Which one will you try? First journal, line dream minute, or wall press? All of this map distinctions, practices, phrases isn't for a chosen few. It's for anyone willing to stop lying to themselves. If you feel at home in a space where depth is normal, leave one honest line in the comments about a moment you reacted from fear and how you want to respond from calm next time. If this work serves you, subscribe and ring the bell. Not for me, but as a mark you make with yourself, I choose the right path, even if slowly. What truth are you ready to practice gently this week? Let's begin exactly where we promised, at 0, the still circle before dawn. In Jung's language, 0 gestures toward the self, the reconciling center that can hold opposites, the image that often shows up as a mandala when the soul is quietly trying to orient. If the last digit of your birth year is 0, you may carry a rare field of stillness, the ability to calm a room without preaching, to keep space open so truth can walk in on its own. The light of 0 is presence, no rushing to fix, no racing to conclude. Its shadow is hollow isolation, feeling lost in life, as if you're standing outside your own story. Don't confuse stillness with avoidance. One Jungian check-in. Are you leaving your body forgetting meals, sleep and grounding? This week, try a micro-ritual, 3 minutes each morning with one hand on your chest. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 6. Whisper, I allow the center in me to open its eyes. At night, a short, active imagination. Picture a glowing circle and ask, what are you protecting in me? Where have you locked me up? What is one small step tomorrow that brings me back to the world without losing my center? In daily life, zero needs to signal instead of silently enduring. Try one clean line. I need more time before I decide. Strangely, when zero finally speaks, people often listen. Now we step to one, the first spark in the night. One carries the impulse to begin, the courage to step beyond expectation and name what doesn't yet have a name. Jung called this individuation, becoming yourself, separating from the herd without turning against life. The light of one is initiation, clearing a path for new ideas and changing direction when needed. The shadow is defended loneliness, bracing to do it all, afraid to ask, afraid to be caught, needing someone. This week, distinguish ego leadership from soul leadership. The ego needs to prove. The soul just brings inner alignment into outer action. Practice, write a 3-line declaration: I am committing to, I consent to learn through, I vow to protect, and send it privately to someone you trust. It's a ritual of leaving the cave so the flame of one has a witness. In active Individuation, picture a headlight in fog and ask, am I illuminating or blinding? What horizon am I seeking? And what am I willing to trade? A contrary action for one asks for specific help today. One task, one person, 1 hour. When one softens by half a degree, the strength multiplies because the spark becomes a source, not just a solitary firework. Enter two, in the double heartbeat, where we learn the art of meeting without dissolving. Two moves by Eros, the principle of connection, attunement, subtle as an antenna. The light is resonance, hearing what hasn't been said and catching what's about to fall. The shadow is self-abandonment, trading your boundaries to purchase peace, using reading the room to forget your own room. Two must tell the difference between comfort and truth. A Jungian question for two. Am I keeping peace or am I delaying the truth? Try a micro-ritual called the boundary sandwich. Open warmly, I appreciate this. State a clear need, I need 24 hours before I reply, and close with a bridge, I'll text you by 6 p.m. tomorrow. In active imagination, you may see a bridge over water. Ask it, whom have I let cross without paying? What is a fair toll today? A useful contrary action, name and one personal preference in conversation. Pick the restaurant, the movie, and allow the awkwardness that follows. The muscle of identity is growing. When two learns to say no with kindness, its love matures, no longer appeasing, but present with edges. And now three, the laugh that sparks in a quiet room. Three carries the divine child, and sometimes the trickster, the messenger, between the unconscious and the conscious. Three can't survive without expression. It translates the soul's rhythm into words, images, melody. The light is ignition, giving shape to meaning, cadence to sorrow, and a path for truth to reach the heart. The shadow is performing to dodge the void, always busy, always joking, always making content, but out of contact with oneself. Three must sit still long enough to separate feeling, what is from story, what I'm spinning. Try the 030303. 3 minutes of silence. 3 raw body sensations. No explaining, warm, heavy, soft. 3 blunt truth words. I'm jealous. I'm tired. I'm afraid. In active imagination, picture a lone instrument in the middle of the room. Ask, what notes do I play to be loved? What notes are mine, even if no one claps? Contrary action, send an imperfect snippet to a trusted friend just to be seen, not praised. When three touches raw truth, the magic happens. The audience stops being gripped by the show and stays because they meet themselves in your sound. To keep you from getting lost among symbols, hold one simple map for 0 through 3. First image precedes concept. If your head doesn't get it, let your body in daily rhythm try 0 breathes deeper, 1 asks for help. 2 names a need, 3 sits for 3 quiet minutes. Second, trust meaningful coincidence, synchronicity. If you keep bumping into circles, a logo, a bracelet, a plate while practicing 0, don't dismiss it. Consider it a gentle nudge. Third, guard against confirmation bias. Write down the times the symbols don't seem to be working. Jung followed living data, not belief forcing data. 4 quick American snapshots to hold the mirror up for you. Noah 0, a night nurse in Denver, learns to stand in the middle of a shift like a quiet circle so the team can take one shared breath. What he thought was passivity turns out to be a rare gift. Ava 1, a small founder in Austin, stops proving she can carry it all. She asks a project manager for 3 hours a week. Revenue rises because she returns to path clearing. Maya 2. A teacher in Atlanta tries the boundary sandwich with a pushy parent and finally sleeps well. Jaden 3, a musician in Nashville, stops posting daily. Instead, he sits 3 quiet minutes before he plays fewer notes deeper, listening in the room. These aren't templates. They just show that when you live a symbol, the symbol begins to work. A relational field note, Jung style. After work one Friday in Santa Fe, Nora sits across from Miles, a slow-spoken man with steady eyes. They start with tacos and trail stories. 15 minutes in, he shares a breakup that changed his career. Openness arrives naturally, as if a door had been waiting there all along. A temenos, a held space, opens when there is witnessing without possession. But temenos is not attachment. Here we must separate healthy resonance from a trauma bond. Resonance makes you expand. Time slows. Your body breathes deeper. Trauma bond magnifies the emptiness. You want to rescue. Breath goes shallow. Heart racing. Nora asks, "How am I breathing?" Her body answers with a full inhale. She smiles and places a soft boundary. "I like how honest you are. My pace is slow and I want to keep this space clean so I can feel what I truly want." Compassion with boundaries, that's adult love. Not every encounter stays smooth. The next week, the person who poured his heart out goes quiet. Projection collapse lands outside the temenos. He feels shame about his tenderness or frustration that Nora did not fill a particular need. This is fertile soil for ego inflation. The tempting story, "They're afraid of my depth." Nora shortens that story. Maybe their rhythm is different. I send a quiet blessing and return to what's mine. Not cold, disciplined humility. Jung warned about the mana personality, the fantasy of special power when self-energy pours through an ungrounded ego. The antidote is beautifully ordinary. Wash the dishes carefully, call your mom, write 3 lines of shadow journal. The everyday keeps us on the earth. Sunday family table in Minnesota. Dad tosses a half joke, half ask. "So when are you going to get married and put us at ease?" Eyes drift to Nora. In moments like this, a family complex, an inherited emotional current, flips on. Jung called a complex a fragment of soul with a life of its own. You don't argue with a storm. You regulate until the storm dissolves. Nora breathes slow and places her answer in clean communication. "I know you're hoping for that. I want something lasting more than something fast. I love how much our family cares, and I need to honor my own pace." Someone may still purse their lips, but the temenos inside Nora stays intact. She doesn't require others to understand her. She chooses not to betray herself. A few expansions we promised. 1, sensitivity versus vigilance. Use the body triangle when you enter a room: feet, belly, shoulders, warm, soft, settling down, or cold, tight, bracing up. Sensitivity rides with warm, soft down, vigilance with cold, hard up. 2, boundary scripts for 3 arenas work. I'd like to slow down for a beat and check our underlying assumptions. Dating. I like this connection and my pace is slow. Family. I appreciate how much we care and I need to move at my pace. Maui. 3, red flag checklist for people who try to remake you and then resent you. They speed you up beyond comfort, ask you to be less deep, assign meaning to your words, use guilt to steer. If all 4 show up at once, you don't need to be the teacher or the villain. Just close the door kindly. "This isn't a fit for me. I'm going to step back here." 4, countertransference, self-care. When you feel the pull to save, to prove, or to be recognized, that's a part of you asking you to come home. Do something very human. Drink water. Take a 10-minute walk. Write 3 lines. What am I feeling? What do I need? What is my smallest next step? When you come home to yourself, the world doesn't have to carry your exaggerated version. If you're ready to practice together, share in the comments like this: I'm a number X. Light, I'm exploring. Shadow, I'm training. Small step I'll take in 24 hours. If you see someone with your number, reply as a companion, not a diagnostician. And if you've gone a bit farther, leave a fresh moment of synchronicity. You met this week, an image, a line, a right time happening. We'll also open mini circles this week for 03, so you can pin your group's thread, agree on one shared action, and meet for a short debrief on the weekend. Symbols thrive when they're shared without being forced. You might ask, so where do I actually start? Next, we'll put hands on the toolkit, a 2-column shadow journal, what I show, what I hide, a 5-minute counted active imagination, a body door, push a wall for 4 to 6 breaths, and a Sunday mandala to track the week's light and shadow. We'll touch 2 subtle traps: spiritual bypassing, using light to dodge hard feeling and ego inflation, and how to land safely. Finally, we'll open the door to the inner marriage, the union of softness with boundary, intuition with action, the destination all these small roads are leading toward. If you're ready to bring the light home, not the blinding kind, but a warm lamp in the kitchen, come with me. We won't promise fast, we'll promise true. And true as you already sense is the only thing sturdy enough to live with. If parts 1 and 2 were about sketching the map and stepping into a few rooms, this is the moment we sit down in the center of the house, open the toolbox, and actually work. Not loudly, quietly, steadily, so the self has a smooth road to travel. Picture a very ordinary American day. Maybe yours, the kitchen still smells like coffee at dawn, back-to-back meetings at noon, traffic stretching into the late afternoon, a hard conversation at night, and near midnight, a dream you haven't finished. In each scene, one precisely placed gesture changes the inner climate, deep and warm, weighty, without being heavy, straight, without being sharp, bright, without the glare. What's the one gesture your day is asking for? From the first threshold, we now step onto solid ground. 4. 4 is living structure, the diagonal that brings us back to center. In Jung's intuition, 4 evokes the quaternity, the 4 directions, the 4 seasons, the 4 conscious functions, a balance where meaning can live. If the last digit of your birth year is 4, you tend to make the invisible visible: plans, processes, good habits, kept promises. The light of 4 is reliability. People trust you when the waters get rough. Its shadow is rigidity when uncertainty rises. 4 tightens calendars, stacks more rules, and builds walls instead of doors. Jung's question for 4 is disarming and exact. Am I building a house or a wall? Try a micro-ritual box: breathing inhale, 4 hold, 4 exhale, for pause, or repeat of rounds before any control-heavy decision. In active infamy, see a square room with 4 windows. Ask, which window wants to open so the wind can enter? And what old object am I keeping out of fear? The contrary action for 4 is to add deliberate spaciousness, leave 15%, flex in your weekly schedule, or retire one self-made rule that no longer serves anyone. Claire in Chicago. An operations manager with a 4 signature tried a weekly breathing milestone, half a day, with no meetings, only review and removal. 6 weeks later, her team's output rose because the structure learned to breathe instead of clamp. Are you building doors or walls? Next is 5, the threshold number. 5 is sacred change, not change for novelty's sake, but change demanded by life. In Jung's spirit, 5 carries the rite of passage mood from old to new, from sameness to individuation. If your last digit is 5, horizons call you, you travel, learn, transform. The light of 5 is courage, leave the comfort zone, experiment, admit mistakes. Its shido is agitation, switching lanes to avoid feeling flapping like a bird trapped in a glass house. Here, 5 must learn to tell true change from evasive change. Use the stay for 90 seconds test. When you want to quit, hand on belly, remain with the urge to escape for 90 seconds, then decide. In active, it must be meet a revolving door in a hallway. So am I running into life or running from myself? And what fear sits beneath this restlessness? A beautiful contrary action for 5 is a loving constraint. Pick one 30-day project, state your end date publicly, and do not change the goal even if new ideas sparkle. Omar in Phoenix almost resigned on impulse again. He practiced the 90-second rule each time he wanted to send the email. Instead of fleeing, he designed a kind exit: 3 months of handoff while prototyping the next calling. On the last day, he left without running inside and outside, finally matched courtesy of many small 90-second braveries. Where are you being asked to stay just long enough to choose cleanly? Then comes 6, the hearth fire at the home center, the place people gather when the night is long. 6 is the principle of care, love made concrete, sleeves rolled, staying when tired. In Jung's heart, this touches the inner mother beyond gender, the power to hold without smothering, to protect without stealing freedom. If your last digit is 6, you're often the emotional backbone of family, team, and work. The light of 6 is loyalty. You keep the fire, set the table, welcome people, home bodies farmed. Its shadow is self-erasure, caring for, enduring for, apologizing for. until you're empty and quietly resentful. 6 must learn tender boundaries, saying no as a way of tending the fire, not putting it out. Try the cup check before accepting another care request. Hand on chest, ask, how full is my cup? If belay 40% off or a warm no, I want to help, and today I don't have the energy. I can revisit on Wednesday. In active imagination, see a hearth or a small chapel. Ask, whom do I keep in the fire while forgetting myself? And which candle should be snuffed so the kitchen stays safe? The contrary action for 6 is choosing yourself first in one small way, daily food-sleep movement. Rosa in Miami, caring for an ill mother and 2 little ones, practiced 1. Warm no, a day for 21 days. The family lost a bit of convenience and gained a mother with years more love to give. Where does your yes need a backbone today? To keep the red thread from part 1 intact, here's a shared extension for 4-6 simple, exact Jung tools. First image before concept. If you're not sure you believe, just run the bodily experiment. 4 does box breathing. 5 stays 90 seconds. 6 measures the cup. After 7 to 14 days, look at live data and ask, did this help me be more true? Second, use meaningful co-appearance when practicing. 4 squares compasses and 4 pane windows show up. Treat them as gentle prompts. With 5, look for revolving doors, 5-way intersections, reroute signs. With 6, expect honeycombs, hexagons, and hearths. No superstition, only kind curiosity. Third, beware confirmation bias. Some days you'll notice nothing. That emptiness is speaking. It may be time for a new symbol or a simple rest. Which sign is visiting you lately, square door or hearth? Because our audience is practically minded Americans, we can lightly quantify to keep ourselves honest. For 4, count how often you remove a rule or leave buffer in the schedule. For 5, count how many times you stayed 90 seconds instead of bailing. For 6, count your warm nose this week and watch your energy climb. Not for trophies, just to remember that meaning must incarnate in small movements. What will you track for the next 7 days? Morning practice. Before the world pours noise into your ears, open a page and split it. What did I show the world yesterday? And what did I hide from the world yesterday? Keep it brief. 3 lines per column, 1 slow breath between them. In column 1, you might write, I said no to an invite my heart didn't want. I protected a quiet lunch. I looked the cashier in the eyes and said thank you. Column 2, I hid my letdown when a close friend canceled. I swallowed a compliment for fear of seeming extra. I ignored my body's fatigue signal. With that, the shadow starts sending mail with a return address. You stop saying that's just who I am and start saying this is what I did today, and a crack of freedom opens. If you often confuse sensitivity with post-trauma hypervigilance, remember, sensitivity feels warm, soft, downward heavy. Vigilance feels cold, stiff, propped up. If your hand shakes and your neck tenses while writing, your nervous system is sounding the alarm. What's needed now isn't self-judgment. It's more water, more sunlight, and a safe self-hug. What did yesterday's 2 columns reveal? By noon, you enter a meeting where the surface is quarterly targets and cash flow, but under the table sit family complexes pulling up chairs. Run a 10-second body check, feet on the floor. Exhale longer than the inhale. Shoulders drop instead of shielding the neck. When the body says okay, speak 1 gentle truth, not to prove you're right, but to open a temenos for the group. I'd like to slow 1 beat and check the base assumptions so we can fix anything early. Watch projections, stir, someone jokes loudly, someone clutches KPIs, someone avoids your eyes. Instead of wearing those reactions home, like arrows in your shirt, stand in your core and remind yourself they're not reacting to me. They're reacting to what they see of themselves in the mirror I happen to be holding. You don't need to be a guru or a scapegoat. You're the doorkeeper, opening and closing the temenos with kindness and boundaries. If someone says you're too serious, answer in Jung's slow tempo, I go slow where risk lives, so we can go fast where it matters. Let's try version A and review mid-sprint. Can you feel tenderness growing a backbone when it travels with breaths? Late afternoon traffic, the perfect lesson in counter-transference with yourself. Complex meets complex without a word. A horn blares like it's calling an old memory by name, and the winning ego flares up. Treat this as the self's mini gym. Loosen your grip on the wheel. Soften your gaze to the distance, let the tongue drop from the palate, and exhale long through the mouth. You don't kill irritation, you move it through a bodily doorway until it becomes presence. That's when you see coherence isn't no emotions. Coherence is not handing the steering wheel to emotions. What's your first signal in traffic, the jaw, the chest, or the hands? Evening brings a hard talk with someone you love, the most fertile ground for spiritual bypassing, where we dodge hard feelings with light language. You might hear yourself lecturing about energy, saying pretty empty words to avoid a very specific wound. Pause at your throat, touch your sternum, and ask softly, what am I hiding from? If the answer is, I'm afraid of being left, bring it to light with a plain sentence. I want to stay and be honest, and I'm afraid of not being chosen. When truth walks in, watch their eyes change, less defense, less avoidance, just human facing human. Temenos doesn't open with flags of philosophy, it opens with responsible vulnerability. If the other person tries to change you and then resents you, watch for 4 signs they speed you up beyond your comfort. They want you less deep. They narrate your needs for you. They steer with guilt. In the past, you would have explained yourself to exhaustion. Today, you say one simple, weighty line. I value this connection and my tempo is slow. If that fits, we can continue. If not, I'll keep my tempo. A gentle closing is still a closing, and your heart thanks you for not betraying yourself. Where are you tempted to speed up to keep the peace? Near midnight, light slow, place a notebook by the pillow and give 5 minutes to active imagination. Last night you dreamed of a fox sitting at your porch. Tonight you invite it back and ask, what did you come to say? It won't answer in human words. It turns its head toward the woods, then holds your gaze. You write it down without quick analysis. Tomorrow you'll honor the symbol with one small act of 5-minute walk without earbuds, so intuition has room to whisper. Working with symbols, you'll feel a gentle gravity others might mark it as a rare aura. Jung would call it the self's numinous tone. It doesn't want applause. It asks for fidelity in small things. This is also where ego inflation prowls. The feeling of being chosen is addicting. Break the spell with ordinary acts. Wash the dishes with care. Send one sincere check-in. Text, kneel to pick up the sock under the bed. What tiny ritual keeps you rooted when the inner light grows bright? How do I avoid becoming someone's guru? When people tend to open up around me. There's a Jung-style Temenos etiquette we're rarely taught in school. Don't diagnose, don't fix, don't borrow another story as jewelry for your ego. Do just 3 things: listen with your body, mirror back one short line, and close by inviting them to care for themselves. Listening with your body means lowered shoulders, soft eyes, even breath. A short mirror sounds like I hear that this matters, and it hurts, right? The closing is thank you for trusting me, do something kind for yourself tonight. Then you leave the Temenos without trophies, carrying only gratitude for having witnessed a piece of a person. Which of the 3 steps is easiest for you and which needs practice? I don't want you to walk alone. In the comments, write, I'm a 4, 5, 6. Light, I'm cultivating. Shadow, I'm training. Small step, I'll take in 24 hours. Reply to at least 2 people with your same number. No advice, no lecturing, just recognition. I see you, that small step is beautiful. Let's check back Friday. If you want to go deeper, pin your comment and form a mini circle, a group of 4, 6 with 1 shared action per week. 4, retire 1 rule. 5, stay 90 seconds before a decision. 6, offer 1 warm no and a 1-hour review. When a community practices together, symbols stop being ideas. They become heartbeat. What will your first check-in look like? But before we close, each number leaves you a living question. 4 asks, do you dare to have doors, not only walls? 5 asks, are you patient enough to change for real, rather than change to run? A 6 asks, whose fire are you tending and who tends yours? Keep whichever question lingers like a warm stone in your pocket and let it open by itself into a small, ordinary act. Which question will you carry this week? And when ground and hearth are set, the road calls you deeper. In part 4, we'll meet 7 through 9, 7, the spring seeker who won't settle for surfaces. 8, the inner alchemist who turns pressure into virtue and power into service. 9, the gentle ferryman who ends in order to begin. These speak of meaning mature power and release the hardest classes and the most liberating. If 4 taught us to build a house that breathes, 5 to shed skin with consciousness, and 6 to love without losing ourselves, then 7 through 9 will teach us to go deep, stand steady in the fire, and leave at the right time. Breathe in and drop your shoulders, hand lightly to your heart. When you're ready, step with me. 7 waits on the porch of meaning, 8 glows in the furnace, and 9 smiles by the riverbank, showing us how to set things down so both hands are free to hold the new. Are you ready to cross? It's time to touch the quiet destination toward which everything we've been moving the intermarriage. Jung calls the path to wholeness, the union of opposites, softness with boundaries, intuition with action, care with decisiveness, depth with discipline. When these pairs stop tearing us apart and start holding hands, we don't need a manifesto anymore. The way we live becomes the manifesto. If earlier we mapped persona shadow self, individuation and practiced a temenos in work, love and family, now we install the central gear, anima/animus, the inner counterpole quietly steering our attitudes, choices, and the subtle field around us. And no, this isn't about gender stereotypes, feminine and masculine. Here are energetic qualities in all of us. Eros, connection, sensing, nurture, and logos, clarity, structure, discernment. When Eros and logos marry within, the inner house is no longer empty. Picture a very American morning Google Calendar, packed Slack pinging, and you long devoted to logos already sprinting. Logos got you far. Without Eros, the schedule turns into a guillotine. Flip it, and someone who lives only in Eros, endlessly, empathic heart, wide open, burns out without logos. The art isn't switching sides. It's setting the table for both. Morning 30 minutes for Eros. Silence, dream, notes, a slow coffee, then hand the reins to logos, 3 priorities. Clear call, boundaries. At noon, give Eros a chair again. 1 breath, 1 body felt question. What am I feeling then? Hand the mic to logos in the afternoon, small firm decisions. At night, Eros and logos clean the kitchen together. That disciplined alternation is a simple, effective, intermarriage ritual, unflashy, but it changes a life's climate. On a deeper level, animus shows up where we flare up or fall hard. Notice how you always fall for a certain type. Often the other person becomes a white screen for your unrecognized counterpole to project its film. One person is smitten with a gentle, just right she, another with a decisive, steady he. Individuation invites deprojection. Gently pull your piece back so the other is free to be themselves. A concrete practice when your heart swells because someone seems too perfect. Write 3 lines. What qualities am I imputing to them? 3 lines, where are these qualities underdeveloped in me? And 1 small action I will honor this quality in me by. That might be enrolling in a speaking class, logos, or tending a plant for 20 minutes. Eros. To love is to see, and we only truly see once we've gathered our shadow from the screen. A confusion to clear from part 1, numinous versus novelty. Many mistake the strong, strange dopamine hit when someone new notices them for the numinous quality of the self. The numinous doesn't glare, it warms. It doesn't demand rush or smother, it opens. Try the 5-sign filter. 1, is your breath deeper or shallower? Does your body settle or brace? 3, does time feel roomy or urgent? 4, do you want to broadcast it or tend it quietly? Afterward, are you kinder to the cashier or more irritable? If 4 out of 5 lean warm, heavy, wide, quiet kind, you're likely sensing a numinous resonance. If they lean bright, shallow, hurried, showy, edgy, that's novelty poking a complex. Seeing this difference keeps your temenos from burning down in a fire of excitement. Intermarriage isn't only gentle ritual, it goes through conflict. One evening you want to care for your partner Eros, and you also need to say a hard truth. Logos, old you would choose one and kill the other, to the point of betraying truth, or speak so bluntly that the bond tears. Today, try 2 sentences side by side. I want you to feel supported, and I also need to say this so we can be real with each other. The word "and" is the bridge in the language of marriage. Add 1 body cue, hand to sternum, slow exhale so logos doesn't turn into a hammer, and Eros doesn't turn to syrup. The outcome may not be perfect, but the temenos holds. Trust gets watered by both truth and kindness. One more expansion, An ethics of presence. Don't use your field to bargain. If someone reveals their tenderness, don't raise your value by hoarding their secret as power, and don't wear their words as spiritual jewelry for the ego. 3 small rules of the Temenos. 1. No diagnosing, don't label people with pathologies. 2. No possessing, don't force connection or overpromise. 3. No retelling, guard their story like a candle in the wind. These keep your inner marriage from slipping into mana possession, the subtle power delusion Jung warned about. Try a beautiful experiment of inner marriage, the 2-column Eros Logos Daybook. Each morning write 3 Logos actions, clear and measurable, make a call, finalize a doc, submit a report, and 3 Eros actions, nourishing soma felt, 10 minutes of silence, a walk without headphones, 5 lines of gratitude. Let them weave through your day like 2 threads. After a Logos task, return to a short Eros breath. If you've soaked in Eros too long, return to 1 small Logos task. After 21 days, you'll see it, that rare aura people mention isn't magic. It's a soul habit. Of course, there will be days you miss. You say too much, you go quiet when you needed to speak. You trust too fast and withdraw too late. You drift into spiritual bypassing, using pretty words to dodge the truth or inflate the ego, crowning yourself special. The antidote we've scattered through the series still works. Return to the small. Wash the dishes thoroughly. Fold the shirt slowly. Send a clear apology and write 3 lines. What am I responsible for? What did I learn? What small next step will I take? Inner marriage isn't proven by speeches. It's lived in ordinary gestures. I want to invite you right now into this channel's practice community of inner marriage. In the comments, share 1 pair of opposites you're seating at the same table this week. GG, endure, gentleness, speed, depth, freedom, commitment. Write 1 in sentence you'll use in clean communication. I honor your feelings and I need this boundary to be true to myself. If it feels safe, share a recent symbol from a dream, a bridge, a river, a lamp, and 1 small way you'll honor it. Reply to each other with kindness. Don't fix each other. Just witness. When many people practice together, where the collective unconscious learns a new language, where depth is normal, boundaries are an act of love, and difference isn't a threat. And like all weddings, there is a honeymoon night of the soul, the moment you realize you no longer have to prove anything. You're not trying to radiate, you're simply present. Others may waver, the world may be loud, but inside you is a warm kitchen water, quietly boiling a soft yellow light, a chair left open for the self each evening. There you don't ask, how do I become rare? You ask, was I faithful today? The answer rarely arrives as fireworks. It arrives as clean spoons, a kind text, a good night's sleep. Next, we'll gather it all into a closing rite, a 3-phase breath to clear the field, a Sunday mandala to watch the marriage grow, and a small promise you'll sign with yourself for the next 30 days. If your heart nods, walk with me to the final threshold, where you don't need an aura, because the truth living in you is enough to change the climate of any room you enter. Now, as promised, we meet 3 demanding teachers in the number line, 7, 8, and 9. If 4, 6 built, the house kept the fire shed. Old skin, then 7, 9 take us deep, stand us in the furnace, and teach us to set things down. Slow your heart by half a beat. What follows isn't for blind belief, but for conscious experiment in Jung's spirit image, before concept lived data before belief. 7, the seeker. 1, the one who won't settle for surfaces. In Jungian intuition, 7 carries the archetype of the seeker, hermit, eyes turned toward the dark of a deep well where meaning lies still like cold water. If the last digit of your birth year is 7, you may be more attuned to meaning than outcomes, to questions than answers. The light of 7 is insight, the capacity to pierce noise and touch what's real. The shadow is isolation and dissociation, living in the head, leaving the body, turning wisdom into armor against life. And remember, symbol work isn't fortune-telling numerology. 7 isn't destiny making you lonely. It invites you to live your depth courageously in a body. Tools for 7 plain and American. Micro ritual, the 7 to 7 7 embodiment. 3 times a day, pause for 70 seconds and return to 7 body points: feet, knees, belly, chest, shoulders, neck, ease. Only feel, don't analyze. Active imagination, descend a stone well with the lantern. Ask 3 questions. What do I fear so much that I prefer to stay on the rim? What is one drop of truth today? How will I carry that drop into the world tomorrow? Contrary, action for 7, one embodied act each day, cook a meal, lift weights for 10 minutes, call a friend and name feelings in simple words, sad, glad, worried, no philosophizing. Vignette Liam in Boston, a 7. A data scientist long assumed being inner was enough. Turned out he'd been out of his body for years. After 30 days of 777, he slept deeper, got less paranoid about work. His team has said, "You're still deep, but warmer." Synchronicity, why it tends to arrive as small taps a go within poster, oh well along your run, the number 7 repeating on the clock. Don't inflate it, just nod and keep practicing. Track the days with no signs too confirmation bias is real. Maybe that day your symbol is a decent lunch. 8, the sideways infinity, the soul's forge. In Jungian imagination, 8 speaks alchemy's language. Negredo, black breakdown. Albedo, whitewashing. Rubedo, red coagulation. Those with an 8 flavor often cycle through pressure, fracture, restructure. The light of 8 is reconciled power, the ability to build, to lead, to leave, concrete value, not just ideas. The shadow is control. Armor, a closed heart, sometimes dazzling success on a numb foundation. The needed expansion from Part 1.8 isn't reckless ambition. It's the call to transmute power from domination to service, from proving to doing what's right. Practicing 8 less dramatic than social media would have it. Micro ritual, the power audit. 3G. Govern, give, guard. Each evening, write one govern. How did I use power today? Decisions, priorities. Did it serve my values? 2. Give, to whom did I share or grant power? Delegation, opportunity. Opening doors. 3. Guard, what boundary protected me from being swallowed by power? Sleep, meals, device-free time. Active imagination. See a forged metal red hot beside an open hand. Ask the forge, what fear makes me clench? Ask the open hand, what can I share without losing myself? Contrary action for 8 concrete softness. Schedule 1 two-way feedback session each week with a teammate or loved one, starting with, "Here's one thing I'm struggling with." No self-justifying. Listen. Then note one small action. Vignette Danielle in Dallas in 8, a VP of production, used to lead with a packed calendar and a locked jaw. Using 3G in 6 weeks, she cut meetings by 20%, increased delegation by 30%, and opened a no-punishment feedback door. Result, a more creative team, and she gets home before 7 p.m., 3 days a week, a very down-to-earth rubedo. 9, the riverbank, where we learn the art of putting things down. 9 stands at the end of the cycle, carrying the wisdom of all that came before, the gentleness of fire of 1, bridge of 2, song of 3, frame of 4, threshold of 5, hearth of 6, depth of 7, forge of 8. The light of 9 is conscious release, knowing when to end, how to grieve, what's done to make room for what's new. Its shadow is over-identification with suffering, carrying everything, being so strong that no one knows you need a shoulder. Expansion from Part 1.9 is the spiritual midwife of endings and beginnings, but not a martyr. You don't have to hurt more to prove your love. Gentle tools, micro ritual. Good grief. One thing a day. Each day, let one small thing go, an object, a habit, a project you know is complete. Hand to chest. Thank you, goodbye. I make room. Know what the body does? Throat loosens, belly tightens. Active imagination, stand before a river. Across it is the person you used to be. Ask the river, where's the bridge? What is the toll? Often just one apology call, one declined meeting, one full night of sleep. Contrary action for 9, receive helpless 3 small tasks others could help with this week. Choose someone and ask directly. Vignette Theo in San Francisco, A9, a hospice volunteer is good at sitting with death and not so good at sitting with his own needs. After 30 days of good grief, he stopped taking everyone's extra shifts and asked a housemate to handle dinner 2 nights a week. What arrived wasn't guilt, but space to live. 9, still midwives, but no longer bleeds out. You might ask, why treat the last digit like a final note? Because our decimal civilization gives the cadence at each decade's end a flavor of summing up. The last digit is like the background color of the moment you entered the world. It doesn't decide you, it tones you. And when that tone rings at the right hour, that's meaningful coincidence. When it doesn't ring, don't force it. Keep living and listen for another symbol. To avoid confirmation bias, keep a Jung-style discipline, live datum, first interpretation after. With 7 count embodied acts this week, with 8 count how many 3G audits you actually did, with 9 count completed farewells. If the number is 0, fine, that emptiness is data too. Maybe you need rest or to shift focus to another symbol, a dream, a body symptom, a memory asking for a name. Before we close this body of work, let each number plant one seed question in your heart. 7 asks, have you stayed in your body long enough for truth to have a home? 8 asks, do you use power to shield or to heal? 9 asks, what is complete and ready to be farewelled with gratitude, so your hands are free to hold what's new? Don't rush to answer. Let today answer with one small gesture. In Jung's world, images and small rituals have their own way of rearranging a life. Next, we'll bind 0 and 9 into a one-page compass. Light, shadow, 24-hour action, reality check, question, plus a simple connecting right to anchor symbol into daily life. Work, love, creativity, rest. If you've come this far, you can probably hear your own rhythm sounding softly. Keep it. We'll use it to step through the last doorway, where symbols become behavior and life stops being vague and begins to take shape. If you've walked with me from 0 through 9, now's the moment to gather the red thread into a map you can actually hold. Jung reminds us image comes before concept. Meaning arrives when a symbol becomes a lived gesture. So part 5 isn't more pretty words, it's how the background music of your birth year digit turns into a daily rhythm, small enough to do deep enough to move you. Think of this as your pocket compass, a single page you can fold, tuck in, and carry through work. Love, creativity, and rest. First, a simple, durable frame. Every number has a light. It brings a shadow. It asks us to train a 24-hour move you can do right now, and a check. Question to keep you from drifting into fantasy. You don't need to memorize everything. Just find your digit, pause for half a beat, and let one sentence walk straight into your day. 0. Light, quiet presence. Shadow, isolating emptiness. 24-hour move, 3 minutes grounding before any big decision. Check, am I being still or avoiding one light initiation? Shadow, self-isolation to stay strong. Move, ask for one specific help. Check. Does this serve soul or proving? 2. Lighted, connection. Shadow, self-abandonment. Move, voice one small, clear need. Check. Am I keeping peace or postponing truth? 3. Light, honest expression. Shadow, performing to dodge the void. Move 3 minutes of silence before speaking. Check, am I speaking to touch or to cover? 4. Light, structure that breathes. Shadow, rigid control. Move, leave 15% open space in your calendar. Check, am I building a home or a wall? It, conscious transformation. Shadow, changing to escape. Move, stay 90 seconds before quitting. Check, am I stepping into life or away from myself? Light, caring with boundaries. Shadow, self-depletion. Move one warm no today. Check, how full is my cup? 7. Light, embodied insight. Shadow, living in the head. Move the 777 body check. Check, am I in my body yet? 8. Light, reconciled power. Shadow, armored emotions. Move the 3G journal. Govern, give, guard. Check. Where did I share power today? Light, grateful release. Shadow, infinite carrying. Move, good grief. One small goodbye per day. Check, am I still holding what's already done? Life in Brooklyn, Austin, or Seattle will still be noisy. Calendars stay full. News keeps rolling. That's why we need 3 safety belts, so symbols keep working and don't melt into blind belief. Belt 1, a co-presence journal. Whenever an image linked to your number spontaneously appears, a circle, a bridge, a forge, a river, note the time, the context, and sensations in your body. No inflating, no guessing, just acknowledge. Belt 2, confirmation bias control. Log the days you notice nothing. Absence can mean you need rest, or a different symbol wants a turn, a dream, a body symptom, a child sentence. Belt 3, measure by action. If you're a 4 count times you relaxed a rule, 5 times you stayed the 90 seconds, 6 warm no's, 8 real delegation, 9 tiny goodbyes. Soft measures protect the heart from illusion and from guilt. Now, a 7-day anchoring rite day 1. Choose your number and write a 3-line pledge, not to be perfect, but to have a witness. What am I learning from this digit? What's my shadow called? What single action will I take in 24 hours? Day 2. 5 minutes of active imagination. Meet your number's image circle, headlight, bridge instrument, square room, revolving door, hearth, stone well, forge river, and ask 3 short questions. Write the answers verbatim. Day 3, plant a micro-ritual in your schedule, square breathing before decisions. 4, the 90-second stay, 5-cup check. 6, 7, 7, 7, body touch. 7, 3G audit. 8, good grief. Dating, share one small piece of lived data privately with a trusted friend, not to brag, just to be seen. Day 5, choose a contrary action. If your shadow is control, drop 1 item. If self-depletion, receive help. If performance, try silence before speech. Day 6, 10-minute device-free walk. Let the world send you a symbol. Don't hunt, listen. Day 7, Los with 4 lines. The truest thing I touched was, a habit to lay to rest is, a boundary I will set is, one gesture I'll repeat next week is, you've completed a small round of individuation, not loud, but with shape. A composite story from hundreds of letters to this channel. A man in Denver, a 7 in finance, thought he just needed vacation. He actually needed a body to live in. After 4 weeks of 777 and good grief, he slept through the night, cut caffeine, and wept in a meeting, not from failure, but because he saw a younger colleague becoming his former self. A woman in Portland, an 8, who once prided herself on caring it all, began saying, 1, I'm struggling. A week opened a feedback without punishment. Door got home before 7 p.m. And strangely, her team birthed an idea she'd never squeezed out by tightening grip. A teacher in Miami, A9, learned to release each emotional invoice. She declined a cover shift on a needed rest day and deputized students for parts of class. The result wasn't chaos, but the return of her gentle presence. These aren't scripts to copy, they're proof that when symbols are lived through the body, the calendar, and one small act, they work. I want to invite you into community like a warm living room. In the comments, use this simple format. I'm a number. The light I'm feeding is. The shadow I'm training is. My next 24-hour step is. Reply to at least 2 people who share your digit with 1 line of recognition and a time-bound promise. See you Friday for an update. If you want to go deeper, pin your comment as a meetup point for a mini circle of 3 to 5, a shared weekly write, a quick hour to report live data, and a thread-thin commitment strong enough to hold us to ourselves. No one here is judging. We're here to witness. A final extension for the healthily skeptical skepticism is a good friend of the soul. You might ask, am I just assigning meaning to a random digit? The Jungian answer may be. But if that assigned meaning helps you live more honestly, love with boundaries, and work with breath, perhaps that's how the unconscious delivered a useful symbol at the right day and hour. And if not, if all you meet is silence, honor the silence. The next symbol may come via a dream, a child's drawing, an old backache, or sudden highway rain. We don't force the gods to speak. We learn to listen. Now that the compass sits quietly in your hand, we're ready for the closing. A 60-second morning rite tuned to your number 1 core question to check if you're living from center, in one gentle reminder not to leave yourself behind on the way. If your heart just softened and your hand wants to make 1 small move tonight, we're headed the right way. Inhale once, exhale once, hand to chest. I allow the symbol to work through me. See you in the finale where every number rests and a life begins to take shape. Take a deep, warm, weighted breath. We've walked together through 10 images from the primordial circle of 0 to the riverbank of 9 that knows how to set things down. If Jung were here, he might smile and whisper, you are not a number. And yet through a number, you may have heard your inner center speak in a small voice. What you've heard isn't a verdict, it's a set of doors. Each door opens a quiet enough space to notice life doesn't demand we become special. Life invites us to become true to our own rhythm, to the homely truth of the heart, to our capacity and our good boundaries. Before we part, take a 60-second ritual. Small, simple, but open. Tomorrow morning, right as you wake, 1, place a hand on your chest and breathe. 4 to 4, 6, inhale. 4, hold. 4, exhale. 6, 2, Name your final digit and whisper its light. For example, presence, initiation, connection, expression, breathable, structure, transformation, boundaried care, embodied insight, reconciled power, grateful release. 3. Choose one 24-hour gesture, one small step. Ask for help. Name. A need to stay for 90 seconds. Offer a warm no. Let go of what's done. 4. Close with a short promise. Today I will live 1% truer to my center. That's it. No perfection. Repeat long enough and the inner structure reorders itself. What's your one small step for the next 24 hours? All day, use one question as your compass. Does what I'm about to do bring me closer to center? If the answer is yes, even slightly, go. If no, pause, half a beat, breathe, 4, 4, 6, and choose again. The inner path isn't a straight highway, it's a footpath, cleared by humble gestures. What would a half-beat pause save you from today? To anchor this video in your life here are 4 soft, portable anchors. I image a sign for your number, the circle, a bridge, a square room, a forge. Keep it near phone wallpaper, a card in your wallet, a small sketch. One word for light and one for shadow, enough to self-remind gently. Gesture a 60-second ritual, like above, so meaning has a body. Witness one person or a small group to be seen while you are changing. Meaning flowers most when someone stands there and nods. I see you. Which anchor will you keep close this week? You might be in a quiet Seattle apartment at midnight, a noisy cafe in Austin, or a car rolling past the Nevada desert. Wherever you are, know this, you're not alone. Let the comments be a warm living room. Post short, clear, honest, I'm number X. Light, I'm tending. Shadow, I'm training. Small step in the next 24 hours. If you meet someone with your number, reply with recognition and a time-bound check-in. See you here Friday for an update. No diagnosing, no preaching, just witnessing and keeping time for one another. What's your check-in day? If you want to go farther, gather 2 to 4 people for a mini circle, a weekly shared ritual, or 6, 7, 7, 7, 3G. Good grief. A quick hour to report real-life data and a thread-thin commitment that keeps us from slipping behind ourselves. To the healthy skeptics, I honor you. Keep your skepticism beside you like a small flashlight. If one day it all feels like meaningless coincidence, let that stand next to your experience. Jung isn't asking for belief. He invites observation. And if this observation helps you live 1% truer love, 1% wider work, with 1% more breath, perhaps that's enough for today. What will your circle practice be? A small safety card for the inside of your cupboard door. Don't confuse sensitivity with post-trauma hypervigilance. If your body goes cold, rigid, prickly, your nervous system is sounding the alarm. Choose safety first. Drink water. Step into sunlight. Call a friend. And when needed, seek a professional. Nothing here replaces therapy. These are gentle companions for walking with the unconscious in order. What's your first safety move when you feel the spike? Beware the mana trap, the subtle illusion of special power. When people wobble around, you don't crown yourself different. Keep a humble discipline, scrub the dishes well. Write 3 honest lines, check on someone with real presence. Light needs no backdrop. It needs a trustworthy doorkeeper. What humble discipline will you keep tonight? If there's one message to carry with you, let it be simple. You don't have to become the 1%. Be 1% more faithful each day to what's true. Stack enough small percents and your inner climate changes. Without many words, others will feel a warmer field where they too feel safe to be honest. That is lasting influence, not persuading anyone, but tending a space where living truth can breathe. Which 1% will you add today? Now connection, my favorite part. Share below. What's your 30-day promise? 1 logos, 1. Eros, 1 for the body. Which pair of opposites will you bring to the table this week? Candor and gentleness, speed and depth, freedom and commitment, if it feels safe. Name a symbol that visited you, a bridge, a lantern, a door, and the small act by which you will honor it. Respond by witnessing, not diagnosing. Add a vantage point. Don't fix each other. As more of us practice gentle truth, the collective unconscious learns a new language, where boundaries are a form of love and depth feels normal. What symbol came to visit you? If this video touched something in you, stay with us, subscribe, and tap the bell. Not to chase an algorithm, but to remind yourself, I want to keep this conversation alive. Share it with the friend you know is standing at a threshold. Sometimes a 4-2-6 breath, and I need a slower rhythm is enough to help them step through. Coming up, a guided short session of active imagination, a repair practice for ruptures at work and at home, and a deep projection map for drawing back projections without tearing the bond. Want a live Q&A? Tell me below. I build from what this community needs. I love closing with an ordinary picture, a late-night American kitchen, sink-clean kettle, murmuring warm light pooling on wood. No fireworks, just a quiet lamp. Here you don't have to perform win or be called rare. You wash a cup, fold a towel, write 3 lines, and know you've stayed faithful a little more. That's how the self remains. That's how climates change. Tomorrow when you enter a room conference, classroom, corner store, the air shifts a beat and no one knows why. Some call it aura. I call it living truth. What 3 lines will you write tonight? One more image for the road you're driving, a night highway, dark on both sides, a breathing city ahead. The stars stand still, but the road beneath you moves. So does your life symbols hold still. So you have a point of reference. You move so your life can take shape. Each time you pause half a beat, touch your chest, and choose one small step, from center, a new star lights up on your private map. Which star did you light today? If this arrived on time, may leave a comment using the template above. I read every line. Often your comment is the lifeline for someone in a very dark day. If you want to keep going, subscribe and ring the bell to meet each week, each time. And another gateway of Jungian psychology translated into livable gestures, active imagination, synchronicity in daily decision-making, shadow work that keeps your numbers light from being swallowed by shadow. And if someone came to mind, a person always bracing to be strong, or one who goes quiet in a room, send this to them like a gentle hand on the shoulder. Which friend needs a gentle nudge tonight?